I'm Arlene, host of the television talk show Ask Arlene, which airs on Thursdays at 6:30. And as a business consultant and life coach, I help you to move forward in your business, project, or endeavor. So if you always wanted to write a book, but you just haven't seemed to get started, or you always wanted to 10x that business that you already have, expand it to the next level, you know exactly what you need to do, but you just haven't done it? Well, I've already purchased all the courses, read all the books, the Tony Robbins, all sorts. I have several degrees, including a master's degree and credits toward a doctorate. I've sat with and met celebrities and done the networking. And what I realized is what I really needed was a mastermind group of people working toward my project, my business, or my endeavor. So what I've done is met with coaches and met with experts and put them together to work on your project. So join us today for our mastermind networking group. I'll see you there. Click the link below and join us.
Hi, you can go where you want to go. You can do what you want to do. You can be who you want to be. Today, we are talking about this concept that the way that you rise to the top of the barrel is by being an excellent speaker. You're like, Arlene, an excellent speaker? You're always talking about overcoming fear, getting unstuck, and moving forward. The way to do this is by being an excellent speaker. So I'm Arlene, host of the television talk show Ask Arlene. As you know, secret number one to being an excellent speaker is that you need to be able to talk to people who are not just like you. So what do Warren Buffett, who is an elderly Caucasian man, and Oprah Winfrey, who is, everybody knows who she is, I don't have to tell you, and Mark Zuckerberg, who's a young frat boy from an Ivy League college, what do they all have in common? Yes, they're all wealthy, but they're all also able to speak to us. They're constantly speaking about their plan, their vision, or their particular successful business. Okay, so speaking ability is key in order for you to move up in that business, project, endeavor, or even in your career. If you have a day job and you say, well, Arlene, I'm not trying to be a world-class speaker and go on tour. I am just trying to move up in my job. Well, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So the person who's the better speaker on the job is the person who's going to move up. So you need to be able to speak to people who are not just like you, because your boss may not be just like you. Okay. And the audience that you're speaking to may not be just like you. So that leads us to secret number two. You need to know the words that you're using when you communicate with people. You need to understand that in your culture, a certain thing might mean one thing, but to another culture, it means something else. And many of us live in an environment now where people have different backgrounds. They're from different places. So behind me are photographs of lots of different beautiful places. Okay. So we need to think of the words that we use in relationship to the people that we're speaking to. Okay, we need to think of the words that we use. So I had a friend and I said something in jest to my friend, and my friend was actually from Nigeria. And when she heard it, she was very offended because from her culture, that is something, a word that you don't use. It means something much more negative than it does to me here in America. And so she actually didn't speak to me for a minute. Okay, so when you're doing these presentations, be aware of the words that you're using. And also be aware that you translate the thoughts that are in your mind into words. So a key area or a key point is not to use fillers. Many of you have taken Toastmasters or gone to other groups where they teach you how to speak. Well, one of the key things is they say don't use ums and don't use ahs and don't use filler words when you're communicating. Just think about what you want to say and then say it without the ums and the ahs. So if I were on here and I kept saying it makes it less interesting. So being a key speaker, you need to translate your thoughts into words more efficiently without the ums and the ahs. And that lends to a level of confidence, because if you're confident about what you're saying and you're comfortable about what you're saying, you're going to use less ums and ahs. Okay. And the title of the show, and it's on the screen behind me, is How to Overcome Fear, Get Unstuck, and Live Your Best Life. So if you learn to become a more adept speaker, you're inevitably going to live a better life. You're inevitably going to be able to move forward in that business project or endeavor. So reduce the number of ums and ahs. And actually in Toastmasters, some of you may not know this, but what they do is they charge you money every time you use an or an ah in order to train your mind to stop using those crutch words. And that's one of the things I want to help you with today. And it's not just a one-shot deal. We're going to continue, but today we're just going to give you 10 quick tips in these 29 minutes. So the next one, we already gave you 2. What's the third one? Let's put it up there. The third one is kind of what we're talking about, which is that you need to know your audience. Know who it is that you're talking to. So if you're getting up to speak, so I've been a board president for different boards. Usually it's a chamber of commerce or some kind of business capacity. But if I'm speaking to a board of directors and I know they're all CEOs that I'm speaking to and they're heads of other organizations, maybe they're nonprofit organizations, or they're corporate tycoons who want me to speak very quickly, they want the information fast and furiously, and they don't want to hear a lot of my beautiful stories, then I'm going to speak to that audience in a different way than if I'm speaking to a group of mothers. Okay, if I'm going and I'm asked to speak at Mothers Against Drunk Driving, well, I'm not going to speak as quickly. So I'll give you an example. I had been speaking to CEOs, and then I was asked to speak at a community association meeting. And I got up to speak and I started rambling on. And I was very intelligent. I knew what I was talking about, guys, but I was speaking so quickly. The room was full of elderly ladies. They said, hello, wait. We don't even know what you're saying. So I had to slow down, speak more concisely, and a little bit slower. Okay, not that these people are any less intelligent. Please don't write me any nasty messages. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it was a different clientele. Okay, the amount of time that they had to hear what I was going to say and how they were processing what I was going to say was different than this room full of CEOs who are hearing speech after speech after speech and are not really as patient in terms of the delivery of the message. And I will tell you, having worked in politics, guys, this is just some insight into me. Having worked in politics and worked in business, I have sat and listened to so many speeches that now when I hear people get up to speak, my brain just automatically says, click, turn off. So I have to force myself to listen and be patient and hear what the conversation is that the person is imparting to me. So you need to know your audience. This is a key secret in terms of being able to manifest great things in your business project or endeavor, whether you're a world-class speaker, which means you're going on tour, or you're just speaking to the group of people that are at your company. Know who they are, know what they like, know what they're listening for, so that you can excel and win at that particular speaking engagement. Okay, so knowing your audience is probably everything. It's only number 4 on this list, but it truly is clearly one of the keys. Okay, next key. Speaking with passion. Okay, what is the difference between a Harry Belafonte, who I think is arguably one of the world's greatest speakers, and a regular John Doe? So many of you are saying, Harry Belafonte, who is he? You know, if you're a younger person, you're like, I don't even recall who he is. But listen to me. Harry Belafonte was a gentleman of color who was a star on Broadway at a time when they weren't even allowing people of color to sit in the front of the bus. And yet he was starring in shows. And I'm going to tell you why. I have heard so many speakers. I mean, I've heard President Obama sat and heard him live, and just about anybody that you think is a tremendous speaker. Bill Clinton, a tremendous speaker. But I will tell you, the greatest speaker that I have ever heard in my entire life is, and you can tell him I said this, and I've met him in person, is Harry Belafonte. He speaks with so much passion. If you look at all of the key people, the key speakers, one of the key areas that distinguishes them from everybody else is the level of passion that they bring to the table. So when I've heard Harry Belafonte speak, off the cuff, he's not acting in a show. It's been speaking about the civil rights movement, something that he's deeply passionate about. When I heard Martin Luther King speak, yes, he's a great orator, but he was speaking about the civil rights movement. He was speaking about his children having an opportunity to live in a world where they would not be discriminated against. So of course he brought to the table a level of passion that is incomparable to someone who's talking about penis. Okay, so I'm not that enthusiastic or passionate about pianists. So if you had me speak to you about pianists, it would be a lot less passionate. But when it comes to how to overcome fear, how to get unstuck, how to live your best life and be empowered, and I'm speaking about speaking, of course I'm going to come to the table with passion, because I realize this is an area that you need and a tool that you need in order to win at this game of life. And if you look at anybody who's really successful and doing well, you're going to see that they possess this ability to communicate, this ability to speak. Run down the list. And if you want to text me and argue with me about somebody that you think is not a good speaker, I will let you know they have the ability to communicate. And it may not be for you, because every speaker is not for every audience, but they certainly have the ability to communicate. So some people say, well, technology people, what about the people in technology? They don't have to do as much communicating. But look at Mark Zuckerberg. He's in technology. He's the owner of a technology company, but he has to get out and speak. And Elon Musk, who's somebody that I would not even consider to be a world-class speaker, but what does he have to do in order to sell his product, in order to ensure that he has sponsors for his endeavors and donors for his SpaceX project, millions of dollars? He's got to come out and be able to communicate it in a way that's passionate and believable enough so that people will want to give their money to it. Now, if you're going to tell me that I need to give you millions of dollars to send a bus to the moon and it's never been done, you're going to really have to be an excellent speaker, orator, and come at me with some excellent pieces of evidence in order for me to give you those funds. So definitely knowing your audience, being enthusiastic, okay, and passionate is key. Okay, next one. Key number 6, if you want to be an excellent speaker, if you want to cross over from the John Does to the Harry Belafontes of the world, you need to learn and cultivate the skill of being an excellent listener. You say, but you're talking about speaking. I'm spending money to be a world-class speaker, which means that I'm going to tour the world getting up and leading groups of people. In terms of my speaking ability, I'm going to touch, move, and inspire the world. But secret number 1 is to be an excellent listener. Guys, the people who are excellent speakers are excellent listeners. Take Oprah Winfrey, for example. She's somebody who we consider to be an excellent communicator, an excellent orator. But if you look at her past shows, she's also a key listener. We love the fact that she sits there and she takes time to absorb what the other person is saying. She's listening, she's taking it in, and then she's going to be able to respond in a way that is passionate and illuminating. So we heard the interview that she did with Meghan Markle and her husband, Prince Harry. But a lot of the time during that interview, Oprah, who's the great orator, the great speaker, who's read all the books and head of the book club, what she was doing was listening. There was silence. And sometimes great speakers are the people who are willing to allow silence to be in the conversation. There's nothing more passionate. There's nothing more profound than silence. So when it's silent, it's because you're listening. If you're talking, it's very hard for you to listen. Now, I am an interviewer. I have people on the show. Many of you have asked, I'd like to be on your show. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing this particular episode, because I will ask someone a question on the show. I need people to hear what the question is that I've asked and then respond to the question. Because sometimes when people are not listening, they're responding and responding and responding, but they're not responding to the question that was asked. And people will say, well, Arlene, you asked the same question 3 times. Why is that? And I say, because they never answered the question. They're brilliant. They're capable. They're amazing people, which is why we're interviewing them. But they're not really imparting to us the information that we need because they haven't listened to the question. So guys, great orators, great speakers are also great listeners. So it's very important that on your journey, you cultivate this ability to listen, okay? And that's not spoken about often enough in this business of speaking. But take any great speaker, watch them on stage and watch the pause. Some people call it the pregnant pause. I don't know why, but it's the pause. And there's passion in the pause, okay? People have an opportunity to register what you've said. People have an opportunity to think about what they may say. And a lot of times when people are talking, so I'm talking, I'm the interviewer. So while I'm speaking, you're listening, you're not listening because you're thinking about what you're going to say next. So the idea is not just to think about the next thing that you're going to say, but actually stop and absorb and listen. And it's okay. One of the best speakers, I said Harry Belafonte is one of the greatest speakers, but also his counterpart, the gentleman who was in that movie with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Also an elderly gentleman who is amazing. He was doing shows and starring on television programs as a person of color in a time when many people of color were not able to buy bread. Okay, so this man is just phenomenal. So there was a dinner and he was there and many people were so excited, Sidney Poitier, to be around him because he's a great speaker, he's a great orator, and he's a brilliant man. But the man said very little. Most of the night at the dinner, he said very little. And people would ask him questions and he would answer, but he would be concise with his answers and he would stop talking and he would allow other people to talk. So he was listening. So once again, one of the greatest skills that we can cultivate is this ability to listen and hear what the interviewer is saying and or your audience. So sometimes your audience will communicate, not sometimes, all of the time, the audience will communicate with you. They will tell you what they want to hear. So in terms of this show, we used to always just have guests. I would interview guests. But when I posted the content, I found that people actually wanted to hear me speak. So I listened. And even though this is not the most comfortable thing to do, it's much easier to interview others and have them talk and just ask them questions rather than do the research myself and come out and share the content. I listened. And so now we're doing shows where I share content. So within the next 5 seconds, I just want you to grasp this concept that there almost is no more valuable key than the ability to listen in order to be a great orator or a great speaker. And if you mark some of those people that you think are great, you'll see that they stop and they listen and they track their audience. They track the people who are speaking and they give them an opportunity to speak. And even if it's a large audience, when I say something to a large audience, because I've spoken at conferences, I pause and I see the audience's reaction and I listen in that sense. Is the audience responding positively to what I'm saying? In which case I say more about it. Or is the audience moving in their seats and in which case we don't really like that. We don't want to hear any more about this, Arlene. So I stop and I move on to the next thing. Okay, so let us go to our quick break and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to give you the 5 additional secrets, nice and quick. Guys, we are doing a 5K challenge where we're asking you to walk 5,000 steps every day. During COVID-19, many of us are indoors. Many of us are not as active as we used to be, going to work, walking to take the kids to school. We're all indoors. And so we need to have a little bit of a boost and a challenge in order for us to become more healthy and become the best version of ourselves. So if you've been wanting to lose a few pounds, or maybe not, you just want to be as healthful as possible, join the challenge, guys. Go to bit.ly/AskArlene. Hi. So, step number 6, welcome back. If you are trying to be a world-class speaker, or you just want to move up on your job in terms of your speaking ability, okay, you're on a show. After, okay, being in the center of the camera, you're putting the lights on you so that you can look the part, fixing your hair. One of the key things is your words. What words are you using? So, there is a gentleman, he is an entrepreneur. Many of you would know him if I mentioned his name, but let's just say he had a bus company and he was from the Caribbean, so he had an accent. Brilliant man, but he had an accent. He would get up to speak and he would always try to use the word, for example, entrepreneur, but he couldn't say entrepreneur, okay? But the thing is, he didn't have to say entrepreneur. All he had to say was business owner, CEO, a person who owns a company. But instead, he kept trying to say entrepreneur. Guys, when you get up to speak, know the words, be conscious of the words that you're using and make sure that you're pronouncing those words correctly, or don't use those words. Because many of us are from different cultures, from different backgrounds, and we pronounce words differently. But we have to pronounce them in a way that our audience can receive it. So him getting up there and tripping over the word entrepreneur when he's speaking to a group of entrepreneurs, it made him sound more ignorant. Okay, he wasn't ignorant, but that's the way it made him come across. Whereas if he just used the word business owner, he would have been fine. So what words are you using right now that we can enhance our dialect or enhance the way that we present? Make sure that the words that we're using are of optimal use. Okay, so know the words that you're using. And I gave you the example of entrepreneur. Another thing that you need to do in terms of your coming on air and speaking on radio or television is know that the people out there want to be touched, moved, and inspired. Okay, so you're only spending 29 minutes with me right now, and I'm supposed to be sharing information with you that is going to help you. So one of the key things that I need to be ensuring is that I'm using my gift and my talents for my highest and best good. So that's another secret. Am I using my gifts and talents for my highest and best good? Number 4. So what does that mean, Arlene? Highest and best good. If I am a world-class speaker and my area of expertise is, as it says in the back, how to overcome fear, how to get unstuck, how to live your best life, you can go where you want to go, you can win. And instead of talking about these motivational topics that are going to help you to win, I'm talking about dragon fruit. Then am I being used for my highest, best, and good? Okay. So I get invited to speak. Well, not right now so much during COVID, but in general, I've been invited to speak in many different places because people have seen me in many different arenas. And so I have to be the judge of whether that is the highest and best use of my time and if I'm being used for my highest and best good. So don't just speak to any group anywhere, although one of the first secrets I shared with you was that we need to get on shows, you need to get on air, you need to practice this concept and practice this skill. A key secret is to speak about things that are your highest good and your best. So cultivate a knowledge of and clarity about who you are and what your area of expertise is, because that way you can be used for your highest best and best good. So if somebody calls on me to talk about basketball on their show because they have a sports program, I would say no, because that's not really my area of expertise. Now, other people would say, well, you can learn and then you can get on and you can have a whole new audience. You can introduce yourself to a whole new group. But is that my highest and best good? Because then that means that I'm not speaking in front of a group of maybe entrepreneurs who could truly use this skill because they're authors or teachers or they want to be speakers or they're already looking for outlets where they can find venues for their skill. And that's my area of expertise. But now instead I'm over somewhere else talking about basketball. So make sure that you're being used for your highest and best good. And yes, guys, we need to make money. We all know we've got a couple of minutes left here. How many minutes do I have left before my 29 minutes are up? We all know we need to make money, okay, and have funds. But even on the off time when you're not making money, make sure that you're using your time in a way that's going to empower you and be for your best good, okay? Make sure that, remember that all of our time here is finite. Nobody has unlimited time. I don't care who you are. If you're Mark Zuckerberg or, Warren Buffett, you still have a finite amount of time. And so you need to make sure that you're using your speaking ability for your highest and best good. Okay, so go on shows that are going to utilize, that speak to your target audience or your target market, to use more business terms. Okay, so 3 more, and we're going to get through them really quick because we only got 3 minutes left. So the next one, in addition to your highest and best good, is secret number 3. Are you interesting? If you come on my show, okay, you're invited to be a guest on my show. Please be interesting. Let us talk about things that are enthusiastic, put a smile on your face, and be interesting. And I could get on here and I could talk like this, and I could share this information, and it would be the same information, but it may not be as interesting. So there's some people who are gifted in terms of knowledge. They're brilliant, but I wouldn't invite them to be a guest on my show, neither television nor radio, because they're just not that interesting. Okay, maybe they need to write their content, and I could post it in social media, post their content, but I wouldn't invite them to be a guest. One of the areas that are essential if you're going to be an orator is that you need to be interesting and enthusiastic and hopefully positive. Like, let's say sometimes, because it's my topic is overcoming fear and getting unstuck, I'm speaking to people who have experienced a loss. Like with myself, I experienced a loss of my mom, and that's how I got into being a coach, because I had to be coached, and I realized the value of coaching. So in addition to being a business consultant, I've begun to conduct coaching sessions. But even so, I'm still going to be positive when I present content and information to the people. I'm not going to focus on the death and dying part. I'm going to focus on how they can overcome that level of fear, how they can move forward, how they can get up. So couch your conversation in the positive, and please be more enthusiastic. You don't have to be a clown, but at least some passion and enthusiasm, a smile, and be interesting. When you're doing, a lot of us are doing interviews now, and we're doing them virtually. So sometimes you notice I lean into the camera. Sometimes you'll notice the camera lighting is on me. You know, you need the lighting in front of you. The camera is set up in a certain way, but I also need to be interesting. Okay, and now the last 2, you need to give value. So right now, I told you I'm only going to be here for 29 minutes. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I want to present valuable information. If you want to be a speaker, a teacher, an author, not even an author, because you're going to want to take your books on tour and speak to people about your books so that they'll want to buy them, then these 10 secrets are going to be helpful to you. And the 10th secret is that, in addition to giving value, is that you need to sign up. Okay, and get more of these tools and techniques and secrets. I'm doing it to program, okay? And I'm only taking on 10 people. I'm only taking on 10 clients that I'm going to work with, and they're going to be a part of this speaking program. Now, one of the things that I didn't say when you're speaking is that you need to plan ahead. So make sure that when you're getting on air, whether it's television, radio, or you're being this world-class speaker, that you plan ahead what exactly it is that you want to converse about. So if you're sharing your content, you don't just get up and say, well, I wrote this book 10 years ago, so I'm just going to get up and speak about it. No, plan ahead. Okay, so that you can ensure that you are being used for your highest and best good and presenting in the best possible way. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today, these 29 minutes. Please sign up. You need to go to the website, okay, so that you can sign up and learn to be a world-class speaker, or even join our Speakers Bureau so that we can help you to get speaking opportunities outside there in the world. So it's Ask Arlene, AskArlene, show.com. Okay, thank you very much for spending the time with us. And don't forget to subscribe at Ask Arlene Subscribe. So bit.ly, bit.ly/Ask Arlene Subscribe. And for the 5K per day steps, you know what to do. Bit.ly, Ask Arlene. Oh, it's right there below. Click the link. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
So I'ma always be good. Said I'ma always be good.